In a world that constantly measures us by our achievements, wealth, appearance, or digital likes, the question of self-worth has never been more pressing. We look around, and we're told who we should be, how we should look, and what we should own to feel worthy. But thousands of years ago, long before social media or corporate ladders, ancient sages wrestled with this very question, and their answers are surprisingly timeless. Socrates, the Greek philosopher who never wrote a single book yet shaped Western philosophy, believed that self-worth does not come from external validation, but from internal reflection. When he famously said, "Know thyself," he wasn't issuing a casual recommendation. He was giving a prescription. Socrates believed that the path to self-worth was through understanding our true nature, our virtues, and our intentions. He argued that those who blindly chase reputation or material gain often lose sight of who they are. For him, self-worth was tied not to what others thought, but to how one lives in alignment with truth and integrity. The Stoics echoed this sentiment. Epictetus, once a slave, rose not by wealth or power but through wisdom. He taught that self-worth is independent of circumstances. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He believed we should focus only on what we can control: our thoughts, our choices, our character. Everything else, including fame, fortune, or failure, is external and ultimately irrelevant to our value as human beings. For the Stoics, self-worth is intrinsic. You are not your job title, your setbacks, or your triumphs. You are your reasoned choices and your moral fiber. Confucius, in ancient China, also spoke of self-worth, but through the lens of relationships and responsibility. He believed in the idea of ren, a deep sense of humanness, of being morally upright and compassionate. Confucius taught that self-worth is cultivated through one's commitment to virtue, especially in the way one treats others. A person gains worth not by standing above others, but by lifting others through respectful and righteous conduct. In his world, to be noble was not a matter of birth but of behavior. A person of low rank could still be truly great if they upheld sincerity, humility, and honor. In India, the Upanishads, ancient spiritual texts, presented a radically different, yet profound idea. They taught that the true self, the Atman, is divine, that within each of us lies a spark of the infinite. According to this worldview, self-worth is not something to be earned, it's something to be remembered. We are already whole, already valuable, because we are part of the eternal. The problem isn't that we lack worth, the problem is that we forget it. Through meditation, mindfulness, and inner inquiry, we begin to remember who we truly are, and in doing so, our sense of worth becomes unshakable. Even the often misunderstood Diogenes, the philosopher who lived in a barrel and rejected society's norms, had something vital to say about self-worth. When Alexander the Great approached him and asked if he could do anything for him, Diogenes simply replied, "Yes, stand out of my sunlight." To him, no king, no amount of power, no societal praise was necessary for a person to feel worthy. Diogenes' self-worth was rooted in self-sufficiency and freedom. He believed that once you free yourself from needing approval, you become truly powerful. Buddha too offered deep insight into self-worth. He taught that suffering often arises from attachment, especially attachment to how we think we should be perceived. His advice was to look inward, to realize that the mind can either be a prison or a sanctuary. Through right thought, right action, and mindfulness, one could cultivate peace and a sense of self that is not dictated by the fleeting judgments of the world. The journey wasn't about becoming someone else, but about removing the layers of delusion that obscure the truth of who you are. Across cultures and continents, from the sands of Egypt to the mountains of Tibet, ancient sages return again and again to the same point. Your value is not determined by others. It is something you carry within you. The mistake we make is outsourcing our sense of worth, giving it away to systems, people or institutions that are themselves often lost. But when we look to the ancient paths, we are reminded that self-worth is cultivated, not granted. It grows through discipline, through wisdom, through compassion. There's another important thread that weaves through the ancient teachings: the idea that self-worth is not selfish. In fact, it's only when you see yourself as worthy that you can truly offer something of value to others. A person who knows their own worth doesn't need to dominate, manipulate, or impress. They become like a still lake, calm, clear, and deep, reflecting peace to all who approach. Today, in the noise of modern life, these lessons are more needed than ever. Our self-worth is assaulted daily by unrealistic beauty standards, curated lifestyles on screens, competitive work cultures, and the pressure to always be more. But the sages remind us you don't have to be more. You have to be you, truthfully, virtuously, and consciously. You are not your bank balance, your followers, or your failures. You are not your GPA, your job title, or your scars. You are the choices you make when no one is watching. You are the stillness that watches your thoughts pass by. You are, as the Upanishads said, not a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in a drop. To reclaim your self-worth, begin by stepping away from the noise. Reflect, read, sit with your own thoughts. Practice gratitude, speak truth. Be kind without needing credit. Be firm without needing to dominate. Walk your path, not someone else's. And remember, no one can take away what they didn't give you. Your self-worth was never handed to you by society, so society cannot take it away. The sages have spoken across centuries, in different tongues, under different skies, but their message remains one: you are already enough. Now, live like it.